Welcome to week 16 of What the Heck Are You Drinking? The NFL edition. Not only is it extremely exciting, but all these teams have made stellar comebacks all throughout the season, whether ending winning streaks or creating their own winning streak. It has been extremely exciting. So right now, a lot of the teams are trying to figure out, one, if they will have home field advantage or if they will be playing on the road, and how many games are they ahead of their opponent so they can clinch the type of berth that they want, and also to see if they are going to be divisional champs. So with that being said, let's jump into it. Week 16 of the NFL edition of What the Heck Are You Drinking? The Seattle Seahawks and the LA Rams ended in overtime, with ultimately the Seahawks winning 37-38 by a 2-point conversion, which is the first team in NFL history to win in overtime by a 2-point conversion. So congratulations to the Seahawks with a 38-37 win. So they had a 16-point deficit and they didn't want to tie. So Sam Darnold said, you know what? Let me go ahead and do my thing. So he went ahead and did his thing, threw a touchdown in overtime, 2-point conversion, and was able to win the game. The LA Rams 11-4. Due to this loss, looks like they're going to be on the road in their playoff opener. However, of course, it depends on what happens in the next two games. But it was very, very exciting to see, and it was a lot of fun to watch because they just played classic football. So the drink that we're going to talk about is called the Damn the Weather, which is London dry gin, orange curacao, and vermouth with orange juice. So damn the weather, damn what was going on. The Seahawks said, we are going to win this. So they went ahead and did all that they could in order to win. And this drink is really, really good. It is very refreshing, and I definitely recommend it. So Seahawks, we'll see what you do in the next week. LA Rams, I know that you have a fight for it so that you can see if you can play at home. So let's see how we go in week 17, Christmas week. The Jacksonville Jags and the Denver Broncos, two teams that are spicing up the AFC. The Jags are 11-4. The Broncos that are 12-3 have really worked hard to keep their winning streak going. So with this loss for the Broncos, it ended an 11-game winning streak, and it's their first defeat at home since October 2024. What a game. So Jags with Trevor Lawrence, he threw 4 touchdowns, and you could really see that the team has really been gelling together. Each person really did work hard to play their actual position and also to make sure they executed their position properly. You can see they were just in a flow. They kept the momentum. The whole second half was just literally the Jacksonville show. Broncos really did do their best. However, it just wasn't good enough. So they have a 1-game lead right now over the LA Chargers. So right now, the next 2 weeks are going to make a huge difference in regards to their playoff berth and where they're going to be in position. The Jags as well, they have to, I want to say they have to win both games in order so they're not on the road. However, it is just really exciting to see them play. Really excited to see this young team really coming together and to really work hard in order to create such a dynamic, electrifying game that's become fun to watch. The refs didn't really interfere in this game, which is a nice change because we've been seeing the refs acting a little crazy in the league. That's something that the league has to get a hold on because they have been changing the outcomes of the game. Say what you want, some people think it's rigged. I don't know. I don't know. Anywho, the drink that we drank was called the Jaguar. Of course, for the Jacksonville Jags, it has tequila, green chartreuse, and Torani Amber bitters. So we chose this drink because it's a little bit on the tart side, yet it's refreshing. And when you drink it, you kind of don't know what's going on until it's blended together. You say, oh, it's not so bad. And that's how it feels whenever you watch the Jags. You go, you know what? It's not so bad to see them play and do well. And of course, when the Broncos lose, it's always a lot of fun. But it's great seeing them come back, and it's great seeing them having a wonderful season because it's been a while. And seeing happy fans really makes football so much more fun. So I feel like these two teams have brought a lot to the league this year, and it's been refreshing to see. So we'll see what happens in week 17 and 18 and where they're going to fall in the playoffs, whether they're on the road or they're going to have home field advantage. So let's see. What a win for the Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers. Of course, for me, anytime the Packers lose is a good day. However, Chicago historically has been 7-30 against the Packers. So this was a huge win, especially as they're in their race for the number 1 seed. Right now, Chicago is 11-4. The Packers 9-5-1. So they had a 10-point deficit. They decided to come back. They tied with 24 seconds left in the game. And then they ended up winning in overtime, 22-16. So, of course, the Packers did their darndest. They had 2 field goal runs and were just not able to really pull it out in overtime. So with that being said, in celebration of the Bears win on this long rivalry, of course, like I said, anytime the Packers lose, we are excited. So we had a Chicago cocktail that is cognac, orange curacao, Angostura bitters, and sparkling wine. Of course, my choice tends to be champagne, cava, or sparkling wine from South Africa. I'm not a Prosecco fan. However, if you're mixing it, you can't really taste it, then a Prosecco will be fine. Now, this cocktail is so fitting because Chicago has really been stirring it up and creating their own mix, which has been absolutely amazing to see them with life again. The city of Chicago right now is electric, plus some of the best foods that you can ever have. So how much fun for them to actually be winning and to beat the Packers in stopping their run. So congratulations, Bears. I know you're chasing for the #1 seed. We'll see how it goes in the next 2 weeks, starting on Christmas Day. So thanks again for a great cocktail. Pittsburgh Steelers and the Detroit Lions had a very interesting game and a wild ending, right? With the 2 touchdown attempts that the Lions did make in the final 45 seconds that at the end were negated due to flags on the play. Were these calls controversial? Yes. Did they have to bring on an official that's over all the officials in football in order to talk about it? Yes, because you have eyes. And whether those are good calls or bad calls, it's up to you, right? Up to you and ultimately up to the league of what they decided. I personally don't feel like they were good calls as a diehard Steeler fan. It really looked like we should not have won. However, after listening to what they said, it did kind of make sense. It was a pretty rough game in the sense that it was a lot of back and forth, and there seemed to be a lot of unsportsmanlike conduct on the field between both teams that ultimately ended with a fan saying something to DK Metcalf that made him want to go and swipe at his face, right? 2-game suspension, I believe, is being upheld. Of course, you should never attack a fan. However, the fans also need to realize that these are players, these are people, these are someone's loved ones. And regardless of how you feel, at the end of the day, it's a professional sport and a professional game. So you have to leave your personal opinions, anything that attacks the character of a person on the field, off it. Because chances are it's something inappropriate and derogatory, because that's the trend that we have been seeing, unfortunately, in sports where fans feel like they can say whatever they want to say and have a player not react to it. So unfortunately, that did happen, and I believe this suspension is being upheld. However, ultimately, the Steelers did take the win with a 29-24. Sorry, Ravens fans. I know you were hoping that we lost. Just didn't happen that way. So the drink that we ended up drinking is called a Fuss Fungal, which is a Steelers drink. It came from McKeesport, Pennsylvania, which is where a lot of my family is from. And it came from Slavic immigrants. So it's actually really interesting. It's almost like a sweeter old fashioned. So you have whiskey, you have hot water, then you have brown sugar or molasses that tends to be burnt, that's mixed in, and you have a warm cocktail. The reason why we chose this drink is because it was a pretty unconventional game, and this is a pretty unconventional drink, especially with using hot water and then also having the burnt sugar part of it. Unconventional, however, it did seem to fit the game. So we'll see what happens in the next 2 weeks. Of course, the Steelers have divisional games. The Lions need a couple teams to lose, and they need to win in order to get their playoff berth, because it's been such an interesting and crazy season where these teams really are doing their best. And we've been able to see real football, aside from the refs getting involved and maybe changing the game in some aspects, but I feel like we've seen that all season with the refs. So we'll have to see exactly what they're going to do about that so that we can have a fair, tried and true game as we keep going forward. So good luck, Steelers. Good luck, Lions. Thanks for a great week 16, and we will see what happens in week 7. And the Panthers and the Tampa Bay Bucks was such a fun game. Panthers 8-7, Bucks 7-8, division game. The Panthers needed this in order to win their division, correct? So right now they're in first place in the NFC South, and they haven't been in first place in, I want to say, about 10 years. So this is a big deal, especially for a new team that's only been around for about 30 years, because they came into existence in 1995. So right now they're working on hope and belief, playing meaningful football, and Bryce Young is really working hard. I believe this is his 14th win. And 12 out of the 14 games that he's won, he's either won in the fourth quarter or in overtime. And he has been working hard on throwing longer touchdowns and being more active so that everyone can play their positions on the field. Now, for Baker Mayfield, he is 1 against the Panthers. And he, of course, was expecting to win. So this is their 3rd straight loss. It was a lack of execution. They did do what they could, but at the end of the day, the Panthers wanted it more, and you could see it on the field. Congratulations, Panthers. So with that, we decided to drink something that the Bucks are definitely going to need, a painkiller, right? Dark rum, pineapple juice, orange juice, creme de coco, and nutmeg if you want to add a little bit of a garnish to it. The Bucks were racking their brains, trying so hard to see how they can win. At the end of the day, it just caused them a headache. They just couldn't get through, so they need a painkiller. And the Panthers, good job serving up this headache for them. We love to see whenever you are taking advantage of the game and playing real football. We're not used to seeing you do it. It's been a while. However, we love seeing it, so keep up the good work. New England Patriots 12-3, and the Baltimore Ravens that are 7-8. The Pats won 28-24. There were some baffling decisions that had happened if you watch the game with just not only placement but movement of people and taking people out of the game. So it was very interesting, and at the end they were not able to win. The Pats did throw 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. They were down 11 points and were able to win 28-24. Lamar on the Ravens was out due to a back injury. And right now, the Ravens are in a position to where they're clawing in, right? And to try to make sure they can be in a favor position in the playoffs. Right now they need to win at the Packers, and the Steelers need to lose at Cleveland this week. So hopefully that does not happen. Of course, the Steelers and the Ravens play in the last game of the year, so also that would depend on their position in the division and also if they make the playoffs. And right now the Pats, they're doing really well. They're one game ahead of the Bills, so they're working hard to win the next couple games so they can make sure they stay ahead and have home field advantage in the playoffs. So we'll see exactly what happens. But because the Patriots have been playing so well, because the Patriots have dominated this past game, we're going to drink a drink, or we did drink a drink that is popular in New England, and it's called hot buttered rum. So the rum, hot water, it's melted butter, brown sugar, and you can add cinnamon, nutmeg, and other baking spices in it as well in order to create a nice, warm, and cozy. The Pats right now are sitting nice, warm, and cozy in their division, but they're working extra hard to make sure they can stay ahead of the Bills, which we'll see what happens in week 17 and week 18. This drink was really, really good. It was very warm, toasty, cozy. Of course, right here in the Carolinas, it's been quite hot. It's been like 80 degrees this week. However, this past week it was freezing cold. So we were able to actually enjoy this drink, and to see the Ravens lose is always a good thing. And to see the Pats actually play some real football is also surprising because we're not used to that either. So we'll see what happens at week 17 and 18. And thank you so much for watching What the Heck Are You Drinking? NFL Edition Week 16. As we are going into the playoffs, we'll see more of these teams in the next couple weeks, what we're going to drink during the games, and ultimately to see what the best drink or best team will be for the whole entire season. So we'll see you in week 17 and see what teams are going to make some movement, which teams are going to hold on to their position, and of course, what the heck will we be drinking?